Hey, what is up, YouTube? All right, gonna do a little bit of a different video today. It's gonna be a quick question and answer or a frequently asked questions video. So, getting straight into it, basically, the first question that I get a lot, or that a lot of bodybuilders that are dieting that we don't really like, is the old "How are you feeling?" So when you're dieting very hard, a lot of bodybuilders know, the hardcore bodybuilders know that it gets really hard towards the end of the prep. And the worst question that you want to get is "How are you feeling?" And the reason is because you got no right answer. All right. So if you say, "Yeah, I feel good," well, then it's like, well, how come you feel good? Aren't you supposed to be dieting? Aren't you it's supposed to be really hard? How much cardio are you doing? Like, aren't you suffering enough? So you can't say you feel good, and you can't say you feel like shit, because then you get all the sympathy and, oh, can't wait till it's over, and we'll give you a big feed and all that sort of stuff. So you don't want to ask that question to a dieting bodybuilder. I know it's strange. You want to have something to say to them. This guy's walking around like a zombie with a grumpy face all the time. But the best thing to do is just tell them they look good. Um, just give them a compliment, say you look good, and good luck with the show. And that's pretty much it. That's all a dieting bodybuilder wants to uh, wants to hear when they're close to a competition. All right, so the next question is a little bit more of a serious question: is when did you start using performance enhancers? And for me, I was 24 years old. When did you start and why? So up until about the age of 23, from my 15, 16, like teenage years, all the way up until I was 23, I was playing cricket at a fairly high level. I wasn't the best cricketer in the world, but I played a fairly high level. So I played against guys that eventually played for Australia, played for against most of the half of the team that went on to play for Australia, like Steve Smith, David Warner, Usman Khawaja, Pat Cummins, and Mitchell Stark, and all those sort of guys. So I was playing cricket at a fairly high level, but I was never going to be a professional cricketer. Um, so I eventually I came to because I played cricket all the way up through my youth, and I played a lot of sports. So I played rugby league, AFL. I was in the swimming and cross country, and pretty much in all the sports. I was always, captain of the football team at school and captain of the cricket team. So had been involved in team sports all my life up until that time. But I always had a passion for bodybuilding. I loved being in the gym. I couldn't wait for the cricket season to be over sometimes so I could train more in the gym. So looking back, I probably should have given up cricket a lot earlier, but I do appreciate the lessons that I learned from training and playing at a high level in a game like cricket. Very, very different to bodybuilding. It's a team environment, where bodybuilding you're a bit more of a loner. But anyway, so I played at a fairly high level, and then was looking at getting into bodybuilding, and was looking at the bodybuilders that were in that were doing well in Australia, and I was looking at the natural guys, and I was probably about 84 kilos, about 10% body fat, and the guys that were winning the natural competitions were about 86 kilos, 85 kilos. Guys like Aaron Curtis, Nathan Wallace, to name a few. There were a few other guys, but they were the guys that I was looking at. And a lot of the mentality in the gym back then was, nah, these guys are not natural. Like, they're on performance enhancers for sure. So, and I was training in a gym where it was a bit of a bad culture with the drug side of things. It was kind of like everyone had pretty much tried it. I was the only sort of naive little kid that hadn't really tried it, but I did develop a good physique. Guys used to ask me all the time, and I thought they were joking. I had no idea what was going on with performance enhancers, because coming from a cricket background where there really wasn't anything that you could take other than sort of like a no dose, or something to keep you awake in the field. There was no real performance enhancers in cricket, so I thought everyone was natural except Ronnie Coleman, that sort of level. So But digging into it a little bit deeper, and I got to, friends with a few guys that were competing, and they were already using performance enhancers, and it was something that interested me. I was a big Arnold Schwarzenegger fan growing up, and I knew that he used it. I thought to myself, well, if it's good for Arnold, then I kind of want to have a crack myself. So I was 24 years old. Uh, my training was pretty good back then. It was, for an average 24-year-old, it wasn't too bad. Definitely wasn't at the level that it is now with the knowledge that I've gained over the years. But looking back, it definitely should have been at a much higher level before I started thinking about performance enhancers. So really, I was way too young. Didn't have enough knowledge, and I regret um, doing it then, even though it wasn't too bad. My first cycle was just 1 mil test for 10 weeks, and I pretty much gained 6 kilos. So um, obviously what I was doing in the gym was working, but if I had my time again, I would have been a lot more prepared and would have gotten a lot better results and would have been smarter at coming off and all that sort of thing. I always did my time off. I think the longest break that I had since I've been using it's been about 10 years, a bit over 10 years now of usage, and my longest time off was probably 9 months. I used to do like 6 months. So most of the off seasons, I used to do a good break. That was always the advice that I got because I had old school guys around me, which I was lucky to have to give me guidance in that. But yeah, it's only up until like the coronavirus sort of kicked off that I started doing HRT. I still take little breaks off everything. I think it's important. You do your HCG and Clomid, try and get the luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone working again. So I still do take little breaks, but a lot of the time now I'm on about 100 milligram of test just because I'm 34 now, and it doesn't feel good to be walking around with low testosterone. It doesn't feel good when you want to neck yourself all day, basically. So, but yeah, so I was 24, didn't have the best training knowledge, but it was okay. Would definitely not do it again if given the opportunity. I would have waited, and that's what I try and tell a lot of the young guys. I try and encourage them to get their training right first, start filming their workouts. I think which is important. It's a great tool. Start tracking your progress and be very serious about trying to progress in the gym before taking any of this stuff, because steroids can hide a lot of the mistakes that you make. But so yeah, looking back, I was I played cricket at a fairly high level, so I wanted to be at a high level in the bodybuilding straight away. So I decided to take the plunge and have been doing it on and off ever since. Like I said, it's been about 10 or 11, 12 years now. I think it was 2011 was the first time I tried. Obviously, it's not the best thing for your health. It's something that's always on your mind, and especially if you got to take this vaccine and all this sort of stuff with heart issues. It doesn't leave you in a good situation because steroids can thicken the blood and all this sort of stuff and cause the heart to enlarge. And there's a lot of problems that come with it. So if you're a young guy and thinking about starting, it's always best to just hold off a bit more. If you are really going to be good at bodybuilding, you're going to beat guys that are on steroids anyway, natural. Like there's guys that have beaten me that are just they've got better genetics and they're just better bodybuilders, even though they're still natural. So it can be done. Um, yeah, but that's my sort of story how I got into performance enhancers. I did have good guidance. I did get a good coach, so I was lucky because there is a lot of bad advice. I only really touched the basic stuff. I haven't done growth hormone. I haven't done insulin. I haven't done all this sort of other stuff. I haven't done SARMs, peptides, never done anything like that. I don't know what else there is, but I just do the basic, the basic cycles that were taught to me by the old school guys. So that's my story on PEDs.